Welcome to this week's edition of Lesson Learned. I'm Marcus Asmus, your host. Inspirational stories aren't always on the news. Some inspiring stories can be found right at home in your families, but only if you're willing to look for them. My father has an inspirational story that has taught me a lesson. The lesson I learned happened 6 years ago, but the story began when he was a little kid.
I've been playing hockey for 42 years. I started when I was 5 years old.
He played hockey throughout his childhood and then continued to play in college.
I went to a college that has varsity, but I didn't make it. Fortunately, they had a club team, and so we played. I was at the University of Denver, and we played teams like CU, CSU, Air Forces JV, Colorado College, and Utah.
After college, he continued to stay involved in the sport through different avenues.
I've always played. Played men's league, played drop-in, coached, stayed very active in hockey.
Unfortunately, this is where the story starts to turn. My dad has a hockey accident that changes his life.
My hockey accident happened on June 1st, 2006. I was playing forward for most of the night. It was a league game, and I usually don't play league hockey during the summer. But this summer I was playing in a league, and I was playing forward for most of the game. And in the third period, I switched with a guy, and I decided to play defense. I was skating back into our own zone to throw the puck out of our zone, and a guy tried to lift my stick, but he missed my stick, and his stick came up underneath my half shield and ran across or along my nose and sliced my eyeball open with a 12 millimeter slice in my eye. When it first happened, I went off the ice and sat on a bench. I didn't realize nearly how bad it was. I just thought I had a cut on my eye, or like on the skin around my eye, and had a black eye. But then it swelled really bad, and I went to the locker room. We had a doctor on our team, so he came back with me, and he told me that I needed to go to the hospital. So we were in the rink probably for a half hour before we left for the hospital. When I was on my way to the hospital, I still thought I just had a cut in the skin and a black eye. Then when I got to the hospital, the emergency room doctor looked at me and said, "I have no idea what I can do with this." So I started to get a little worried. And then he called in an ophthalmologist. The ophthalmologist put in some iodine to check for if my eyeball had been cut. And when he looked at my eye, he was hovering like right over me, looking down at me, and he got this really worried look on his face. And that's the first time that I really got scared that there was something seriously wrong. I had to wait overnight in the emergency room to go see a retinal specialist the next morning who would do the surgery. And when I went in to talk to him, he did a bunch of, did his exam and looked at things and just kept turning around and not saying much and writing notes. And then he would look again and not say much and write notes. And finally he looked around and he said, "Well, it's very likely you're going to lose the eye." And right then my heart sunk as deep into my stomach as I think it ever has.
The fear my dad had about the amount of damage was justified by the severity of the injury. The eye was messed up.
It was the cornea that got sliced. That's the outside of the eyeball. So that was the first part of the injury. And then after it got sliced, it allowed blood to flow inside my eyeball. That blood coated my lens. In addition, the jolt of the hit on my eye detached my retina. So all three of those parts we knew pretty much right away were affected. The coating of my lens, though, made the doctor decide to pull the lens out. And when he did, this was on the second surgery, and when he did, he found that there probably was not a place to put the lens back in. So all the inside parts of my eye were affected.
The damage to his eye was horrific, but the lasting part of the injury was his vision.
As far as vision goes, I have limited vision in that eye because there's no lens that makes it so that I have no ability to really focus with that eye. But also because the retina is detached or had been detached and is damaged, everything is distorted. So even if I did have good vision in that eye, even if they could figure out how to make the lens work, it would distort the vision so that what I see in my good eye, my bad eye sees in a different place.
Even though he has this limited vision, he continues to play hockey, but he must make adjustments to enjoy the game that he has played his whole life.
The first day the doctor cleared me to play hockey, I was back at the rink. A lot of people told me that I'd never want to play again, but they were wrong. But there were some adjustments I had to make, and I found those out pretty quickly. One of the things I learned is that I have to turn my head more often. When you can't see very well out of one side of your vision, you have to turn to get the other side facing the play. I noticed that because of a lack of depth perception, when things happen slowly on the ice, like passes come slowly, they're actually harder to respond to than when they come more quickly. Slower passes require depth perception, where faster passes just require a judgment of speed. And the third thing that I really noticed, and I still notice a lot, is when the lighting is bad in a rink. So if it's not a real bright rink, it's a lot harder to play in for me.
The fact that my dad continued to play hockey taught him that he could overcome any obstacles that were caused by the loss of vision in his right eye.
But piece by piece, and pretty quickly, I was able to overcome the obstacles of the eye and continue on with my life as normal. I mean, it's affected my life, but I haven't let it affect it to a point where I had to give anything up.
The lesson I learned is that although it is easy to take the easy way out of things by making excuses, you benefit more from persevering. The eye injury my dad had and how he overcame it has become a state of mind to me, that I won't let things get in my way of what I want. And that's a lesson worth learning.